Hey there, friend. Welcome to Create Conversations. This podcast is designed to connect you with entrepreneurs and creatives from across the country and sometimes around the world. When I was first starting my business, I really didn't have that sense of community to connect with, to bounce ideas off of, to really know that I'm going the right direction or was doing something right. That's why I created this podcast, to give you that community in hopes that it can inspire you and drive you forward through your entrepreneurial journey. So without further ado, let's create some conversations. Hey there, friends, and welcome back. Today I'm here with Michelle and Laura Beth from Of the Fields Floral Design, and today we are going to be talking about how to make an impact with your business and what that kind of looks like. So could you guys tell me a little bit about yourselves and the business?
Sure. You want to go first?
Sure. I am Laura Beth Burgess. I am originally from Smyrna, Tennessee, so one of the rare Nashville locals, I guess you could say. And I have been working with Michelle for the past almost 2 years now.
Oh, wow.
So I say that, but we actually were doing floral design even before that. I don't think we necessarily knew where everything was going to grow to, but so from Smyrna, I've got family that are still there. A lot of my family's still in Middle Tennessee.
Yeah.
And just enjoy designing and working with my hands to make really great art with flowers.
Awesome.
And I'm Michelle Jones, and I am originally from Maine, but came up to Nashville for school and stayed. And yeah, we were almost 2 years old as a business, but like Laura Beth mentioned, it was always something when someone had a shower or a birthday or any of those smaller type events, we would always bring a little arrangement or do something for that. So it had started a little before that, but nothing official until about 2 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of how it works. Like, I've been taking pictures forever. I had like the disposable camera that my parents would give me on trips, and I would take pictures of literally everything.
That's
like
great.
the ground. So I wanted to remember everything. I wanted to remember what the ground looked like as a 10-year-old. But yeah, that's super cool. So you said this is a part that has been a part of your life, doing floral design. Did you go to school for it, or what kind of like made that jump of you like, oh, let's start a business?
No, neither of us went to school for anything
Even remotely close.
art related. I went to school for accounting.
Okay.
And
I went to school for nutrition.
Oh, okay.
Then became a registered dietitian. So
it was something that we both just really loved and wanted to do more of, in more of like an official capacity to be able to market ourselves and do larger events. And it was good that we were doing it together, because we, up to this point, have both also had full-time jobs. Next week is actually my last week at my full-time job.
That's so exciting.
It'll be full-time of the field. So we just got to a point where you just can't do it all.
Right.
So it was time to choose. So I'm going to go full-time for the fall, which will be by far our busiest season that we've had yet. So
that's exciting.
It'll be really good. So last week, and then full-time entrepreneurship.
It's so exciting. So did you guys know each other before you started? Okay.
Yes, we did. We were actually potluck roommates our freshman year
in school. Yeah.
You know, I mean, to be fair, we both like looked for the biggest room that had 2 closets, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But then you just had to pick a room, and Michelle had already picked a room, and I came in a little bit later, and I was like, well, I have to choose somebody.
Yeah.
So we kind of ended up together, and it's been
so we lived together for 7 years until I got married in 2016, and we joke with my husband Cameron, we're like, it'll be our 7-year anniversary before we've been roommates. Yeah, so we definitely...
It's a pretty high bar to set.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So we definitely knew each other pretty well before.
Yeah. So what was kind of like the defining, like, let's start it together, let's do this? Did you see a need, or did you see that you constantly kept getting asked, like, hey, can you bring flowers or do something?
I would say for me, and I think we both have, what's neat about this is that we both have different perspectives and experiences with kind of how we have loved art and flowers. And so for me, I mean, we had been doing flower designs and bringing things to showers and all of those things, but I actually got asked to help with one of my friends' younger sister's wedding.
Oh, wow.
And I, at that point, had never done any large-scale floral designs, and so I thought, oh my goodness, like, I don't know, but they were like, well, you know, we're just asking you to do it, you know, out of the goodness of your heart. Like, everybody was pitching in. And I was like, you know what? Sure, why not? And when I did that, I realized how much I really enjoyed doing that, and doing that for people like on such a special day,
right?
Or for special events. It doesn't even have to be weddings necessarily, but to get to enjoy such a big part of someone's life and to get to bring some art into that. So that was kind of a pretty defining moment for me. And then Michelle had been in the back of her head and even, you know, bringing things to already with floral design. And so I think once that happened, I talked about it a little bit, and she was like, oh, well, actually,
yeah. And that was, so we became like an official business and did, you know, everything we needed to do to launch and all of that on January 1st, 2018.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I feel like a lot of people in the wedding industry have a similar story where got married in 2016, did all the planning myself, and I'd always been interested in flowers just since I was little, and working with our florist, and then it really got me thinking, oh, like, people really do this full time, like as a career, like not just like a hobby. This is an actual like job option, for people. So I ordered a lot of books on Amazon.
As you do.
Cameron was like, "What is this? Another flower book?" So, and would just kind of read as much as I can. There's some really good flower podcasts. There are good kind of pages that you can just start gathering information from. So that had been going on when Laura Beth did the wedding that she did, and then also Laura Beth's cousin got engaged.
Oh, wow.
So we had some, and she was pretty laid back. She was like, I trust you guys because, you know, when you're new, getting those first couple of clients, when you don't have a ton of experience to show for yourself.
Right. And you're still learning.
Yeah.
You're still learning what it is.
So somebody that trusts you.
Yeah. Right.
And we know well enough that you would know.
Right. If she didn't like it.
Right. So we had that first client, so it was like, okay, you know, this could be the time. Might as well go for it. To just, you know, get a full wedding and like as experience, get the photos from it, kind of learn from that first.
I think what's been really neat too, I mean, it's fun that we are friends and have known each other for so long, but it's kind of hard to see. I'm sure people listening on a podcast don't get to see like the excitement and joy in my face, but really in Michelle's face. Like she loves this. I mean, we both do, but the passion that she has for everything that she does is just really encouraging for me, and I'm excited for her to get to go full time and do this. It's a real big dream that I feel like she has had for a while, and just that passion coming through to fruition of actually getting to do this full time. Yeah, it's fun to be on that journey with her. So.
That's awesome. So what made you want to add a sustainable element in your business? Like, what did that look like?
So as a newer business, the sustainability conversation, the learning about that whole aspect has just been something that Cameron and I have tried to have in our just everyday lives, where at home, and you know, we're not anything like zero waste or like only have a mason jar of trash every year. We're not anything like that.
Those people are goals.
It's just like, I feel like that has to be your full-time job.
Yeah.
But we definitely feel like there's so many small changes that you can make, where, you know, once we run out of a product, we just try to replace it with, you know, something a little better, something like that. So since that was already part of our just day-to-day lives, it just made sense to go ahead and add that from the start of the business. Since when, as you know, it's small business, like it feels very much like part of yourself at first, where, you know, this is a piece of us. So it was just something that we could add, since it just made sense for what we're already trying to do.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Absolutely. So how does that look like in your business? Like, what are there certain things you do that a different, like another floral design studio probably wouldn't do? Or do you take, like, how does that look?
Yeah. And there are a couple things I would say. One of them being trying to buy local as much as possible. A lot of flowers are grown and shipped from South America, Colombia, that area, where it's not always the best farming practices. A lot of like chemicals and things to make sure that they still look perfect from shipping all the way from there, then through Miami, and then through wherever your wholesaler is. So we have one in Nashville. So it's just, that's how a lot of flowers are grown. But if is a way where we can get something locally and work with a local farmer, they've traveled a lot less distance, a lot less chemicals, a lot more organically.
A lot less things that have to be sent along with them, like cardboard and wrapping and all of those things.
Yeah, they're not always wrapped in like a plastic wrapper. When we get them, we can just get them in a bucket, tied with a rubber band.
And reuse the bucket because we know them and we take it back and forth.
Yeah. So that's one big thing that we try to do, which has been, and I know this can kind of be a struggle for all sorts of florists and for farmers, is like connecting with each individual farm and then each individual florist. So I know that's something that especially the Nashville area is trying to get better at, is, you know, is there going to be one central market or something like that, which I don't know if that's in the cards, but that would be wonderful.
That would be nice.
Or some sort of like collective to try to get everything in a central location or like a central place that we can order from. Since, you know, some people might do it because it's not the easiest way to get flowers, where you have to coordinate with, you know, four different farms and deliveries or pickups from them. But it's definitely always worth it. The flowers are usually just so beautiful, and knowing
they
that
smell like real flowers and
and then the other main way is trying to use just more sustainable materials, mostly related to like floral foam, which we're not perfect at. There are some things every once in a while where we just don't know a great other way to do it, but floral foam is just like microplastics.
Okay.
So it breaks down. I don't know if you've ever like seen it or touched it, but it gets kind of like
gritty.
Because isn't there like, because I took one floral class for fun, and there's like the wet and dry.
Yes.
So you do typically.
So it would be the wet
Okay.
that we would use, and it's really helpful because if you have an arrangement, you can just wet that piece of foam and then put your flowers in, and it kind of lets the flowers drink for a little while, a couple of days even. But once it breaks down, it becomes millions of little microplastic pieces that then get in the water and everywhere.
Yeah, and there's probably not the best way to dispose of it.
No, because it's just going to break down. It's just you know, plastic takes hundreds.
And it's also pretty hard to reuse, which is a thing that gets tricky. So like there may be things that maybe we have something that you can reuse it over and over and over again, but those, they just, because of the way you have to use them, they're difficult to reuse. So I feel like whenever we're going to do an installation or we're trying to do something, we're always trying new and different ways of doing installations that will still keep your flowers looking fresh and still give you the shape and all of those things that you want, but thinking about, okay, well, what kind of materials can we use maybe differently this time
Mm-hmm.
that we might be able to reuse again later, or that we're not having to, use that floral foam or anything like that. So
do you find, I think I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but do you find that you have had to say like no to different clients because of what they wanted and like trying to not use that floral foam and different things that they are like, oh, I want this flower, and you may not have it?
Yeah, not yet. We're not at a point quite yet where we can kind of be super like very choosy.
Yeah.
Where some people just have so many inquiries and we've been lucky enough to fill up our schedule and have worked with some really, really awesome brides. But that could be something in the future where, we say just on the front end, we're going to source at least the X amount of flowers locally, 80% or 90% or 100% would be wonderful. We do run into a lot where there are just a lot of trends right now that aren't real, that don't necessarily lean towards the sustainable piece of it, where, if you have a wedding in December or January, where there just aren't any local products, or where you want eucalyptus, which is just not something that's really grown a lot locally. So it's definitely trying to say, okay, how many things can we get locally? And then everything else we're just going to have to order. So we're trying to continue to increase the amount or the percentage of things that we can get locally and decrease the amount that we order. So it's definitely still a work in progress, and we're definitely not perfect yet, but there's always like, okay, what can we do next time that would alleviate this, or what could we do? How could we design? Really, I think you can do I imagine almost anything without foam. It just takes a lot of creativity and a lot of testing.
Pre-planning.
Yes, a lot of testing out different mechanics, and just asking other people if they have any thoughts, or so there are certain types of like tall arrangements or certain things in installations are the trickiest to try to figure out. But it's a continual learning process of, okay, is there a way we can do this without using foam? What does that look like? Does anyone else know how to do it? Can you show us?
Can we look up some videos?
Can we look up some YouTube? Yes. So.
Well, I think what's neat too is that it's like we will hopefully continuously be learning how to be more sustainable. And I think that's what even individuals, you don't have to have a business, or you don't have to have some, huge impact necessarily that you're making, but even one small thing at a time, switching, instead of throwing away a water bottle or buying a water bottle somewhere, you bring your water bottle with you. So it's just things like that we try to bring into our practice and our business. It's one thing at a time, and hopefully that adds up over time.
Yeah, definitely.
So what do you do with the flowers that are like after a wedding or after an event? Do you have do you say to the bride or the groom or whoever, be like, oh, you do something with it, or do you take them back and do something else with them?
Yeah, so most of the time we do take them back, just because sometimes families are out of town, or the couple's going on their honeymoon, and most people just don't want to necessarily deal with a lot of that afterwards. And it's been a couple different things. My neighbor gets a lot of flowers, so we try to split them up a little bit, and Laura Beth will take some back to her house and just share them with others here and there.
I like to take them into offices. We've got a girls group we've given some flowers to. So.
Yeah, so that sort of thing. We've had a couple weddings that had the larger arrangements that were just still looking good. So there's been some that have been taken to nursing homes. So we try to distribute as much as possible. We've done a couple weddings where the centerpiece was a potted plant, and all the guests took one home as a favor.
Oh, that's
so something
cool.
like that where, there really isn't much afterwards. So, everyone gets to take it home and hopefully try and keep it alive or plant it somewhere. So that type of thing can also be really fun. And then anything else that just stays around in a bucket somewhere and decays in my garage will go in my compost bin.
Okay.
So my husband and I have a decently large garden at our house, so we have a couple of compost.
Might be an understatement.
Yeah, for the size, we don't live on a large property, but we really enjoy gardening, so we have a couple of compost bins that we'll put everything in, which eventually make soil for our garden.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. We also have tried drying flowers too, because it's a trend right now to have like dried flowers and maybe just as a textural element or something in an arrangement or a bouquet even. And so if there are flowers that we're like, oh, let's try to see if this will dry pretty, then there's a lot of times you'll see things just like hanging in their garage. So that you can just see, is this going to be something that we can reuse, which is very rare for flowers.
Right.
But then add a little bit of texture
that's
to an
a
arrangement.
good point. The last wedding we did, when the bride and groom walked back down the aisle, they wanted some dried flowers or petals or something to throw as they're coming back. And we, throughout the year so far, just flowers that had come back from weddings, we dried some of those petals and then just kept them.
Oh, wow.
So we were able to have those for somebody who wants something to throw, something dried, and it was just from leftover flowers.
Yeah, it was
so
neat
cool.
too because it was all different kinds of flowers too. Because
there
we
were
used
rose petals and zinnia petals
and
all
so
sorts of
and
things.
all different colors too, and so and that's what they wanted at the end, and so they got to throw all of these really pretty petals.
Yeah. So I kind of just
cool.
hoard things for a little
Yeah.
while.
Yeah.
We have a bride that comes along and it's perfect.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Do you think there's, I mean, maybe I'm just spitballing here. Like, do you think there's a possibility of you growing your own flowers to help with that? Because you mentioned you like gardening.
Yes, Laura laughed a little
I
bit.
did.
So, because that would be like an eventual dream of having, my husband, it works on a farm right now. So, our down the road goal would be, we think maybe to have, a small farm that mostly growing things that I know, or I would think that I could use in designs and for weddings, to where it's just even more local, smaller, something we enjoy doing.
They've already been practicing.
We practice here and there.
Yeah.
We use things from the garden. It's just nice to have. Just sometimes we'll be making a boutonniere, just something where you're like, I just need a little something that I can clip to add to this.
We're also pretty good at foraging. So their backyard has a lot of just good greenery or things like that. So if you just need a little extra greenery here, a little different kind of texture or something, then kind of going out and seeing, all right, what does nature have for us today?
Yes. So do you do all of your design out of your home?
Yes. So, my husband and I, we have a garage that we've just said, you know what, we're not going to park in here ever. So it's a small, just one car garage. So we built some tables and some shelves. So it works really well that we can open the garage door when it's nice out and just feel like you're semi outside.
Yeah.
So that's where we've been working out of, and it's been good so far.
That's awesome. So do you think that, going back to like the floral foam and stuff, because I was just thinking about boutonnieres and all the aspects of that, do you think floral foam is like your biggest thing of trying to be more sustainable, or are there other elements that, like for a boutonniere or corsages or whatever?
Yeah. I would say that's probably the biggest thing, unless, can you think of?
Well, I mean, anytime we we try to reuse as much as possible. So, for example, like if there's a corsage and people like leave their corsages and it has the little bracelet piece left to it, if it's a metal one, we'll take it off, clean it up, and reuse it again. So it's even things like super small that we may not even think about now as we're trying to think back about how we're being sustainable, but anytime we can reuse something, we're trying to do that. And so that it could be we've got little things that we use in bouquets sometimes to like get them spread out or give them a different shape maybe, and those things can be reused as well. We try not to use things that it's just going to get thrown away. So there's little small things.
We use a lot of chicken wire for designs. It really helps. We put them in vases to help with the structure, and then arrange in the vase with the chicken wire, which we reuse those.
Got a huge area in the garage that's just a bunch of chicken wire that we've like pulled from something and wrapped it up and gonna reuse it again.
So if we do an installation with chicken wire, we'll save that and reuse it again, instead of just throwing the whole thing away.
Yeah. And we try to, I mean, I don't know how many people do this, but like with our vases that we're taking with the bouquets, like we reuse those, we go back and pick those up so we can use them again. Any of the like centerpiece things, instead of, having people buy completely new ones, we try to like have certain ones that we use regularly and again, go pick them up. So it's even not just like, let's buy like super cheap plastic ones that get thrown away. Instead, we're going to like use some nice ones that we can reuse again.
Do you find that your couples do they bring things to you that they're like, oh, could you use this for a centerpiece? And also, side question, do you find that your couples or people that come to you are more conscious of being sustainable?
We have a couple couples that have their own vases that they would like to use. It's pretty rare, and we usually do like to pick them up and get those from them so we can design in them beforehand. But most people don't already have 20 of the same vase or something like that. So we rent out our materials. And then for the second question, we've seen, I don't know if it's because we've posted about it a little more, but we have had a couple individuals that have come and spoken to us that are conscious of it. And again, not everyone. And when we do a consultation when we put together a proposal with the couple, and sometimes that just looks like helping educate them on what is in season, what's not in season. This is an option in that color palette for what we can get if it's August or if it's March or that time of year. So that is how it's helped us approach it with our couples, saying, in these colors that you're wanting, or the texture that you're wanting, here are some ideas of flowers that would be available for us to source locally.
I would say most people are pretty open to that kind of thing. Like there may be somebody comes in with specific flowers that they think they might really like, and maybe they are not in season during that time, or they're not local. And then we might be able to say, well, there's this really great flower that likely will be beautiful at that time in season. We could get it locally, and people are usually pretty open to that. I think when people are given a choice to be sustainable, usually they're going to choose that. I mean, people are aware. It's just knowing how to best do that. And I think that's what we try to do with our businesses. Both educate people, but then also give them the choice to be sustainable. And usually people choose that.
That's awesome.
And sometimes people just aren't aware of all the different what you can and can't get, which is, we don't...
Understandable.
Right. We don't expect people to come knowing all of that. So if it's just something we can talk about during their consultation, then that's been really helpful.
Yeah. So what would be your dream impact that you would want to do with your business?
Dream impact.
I know, it's a loaded question.
I guess I could start. Yeah. I would say just helping people be aware of small changes that anybody can make, not just necessarily specific to the floral industry. I know there are other florists like trying to head that direction, which is awesome, but even for everyone else, thinking about a small change here and there, because it really does add up. So just being part of that larger conversation, and helping people maybe have a thought when you throw something away, thinking, okay, should I replace it with the same thing that I just disposed of, or is there a better option, or something like that, where, and it's just continuous. Like, it's not, sometimes there's a misconception about sustainability that's like, go through your house and throw away everything that's plastic because it's bad, or something like that. But it's really more about small changes and things you can do here and there. So just continuing to bring it up, and when we talk about our business through something like this or through social media, so it just gets people thinking more and more about the topic.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, I think what we've been talking about is like the small changes add up to big things, and so like in the grand scheme of things, and like where do we want to be later on down the road, it's just adding up all of the small things we've done along the way, and including other people in that, so that other people, like we said, have the choice to be sustainable, understand what sustainability is in a different way than maybe they had a misconception about it before, or didn't really fully understand it. And so helping people, and then it kind of is the multiplier effect, right? So it's not just adding one person, but then maybe they go talk to other people about it. And so I think we just want to be a spark to that change, little pieces at a time, so that it creates a bigger impact.
Yeah. And I think that's so cool that you guys are doing this, because the wedding industry, A, is huge, and B, a lot of people do think about their flowers and stuff for their wedding, and once being a wedding photographer, that just seeing how much at the end of the night is like thrown out, and trying to help that not happen.
Right.
Because like, that's just thinking of all the pieces in a wedding industry for a wedding, that's a lot of stuff that could potentially be thrown away, and trying to make it so it's not that way, or less of it. Maybe it's just the food you're throwing away. Like, I don't know, but that's just really cool. And I just think that's awesome.
Yeah. So if we had a wedding every weekend, and that's 20 pieces of floral foam each week or something like that, that's a great start, and then kind of just being able to add from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So what advice would you give to anyone who wants to sort of get the sustainable element in their business, or make an impact with their business?
Yeah, I would say to just start somewhere. To just start. Sometimes it can be really overwhelming. I would say, where if it's just in your personal life, you're trying to make changes, or in your business, it can be really overwhelming, especially if you're trying to go from nothing to like a zero waste type of thing. So just pick one area and start there, and then once you feel good about that area, move on to the next, and then move on to the next. So for example, if it was just in someone's personal life and in your home, and you ran out of a cleaner or something, buying a more organic, sustainable option that's better for the environment next time when it runs out. Or, and once you've converted all your cleaners, maybe move on to like your bathroom products. And then once you're good, so it's just a continual start somewhere and then keep going. And the other thing I would say, unless you want,
I was just gonna say, like, don't shy away from it because it seems hard. I think that's something like Michelle has taught me, actually. She has always, I remember our freshman year of college, she walked in with a like reduce, reuse, recycle shirt, and I was like, what have I gotten myself into? You know,
It's like, who is
and
this?
and that honestly was not on my radar at all. And so I think, and for a while for me, it was like, well, it's probably not that important, you know, whatever. And as we have been roommates, and which was, you know, however many years before we even started the business, and then as we started this, her continuing to say, hey, this is really important, and like, you know, I'm on board for that. And so like not shying away from those conversations, and being willing to start somewhere, I think is really important.
Yeah, and just as far as an impact portion to a business, whether it's something related to sustainability or really anything else, I feel like it has to be something that you know you're really passionate about, regardless of if you had a business, if you didn't have a business. I just feel like people now that things like authenticity is kind of almost a buzzword as far as on social media and things like that, I feel like people can tell now if it's something that you really do, like you really care about, or if it's something that you're just trying to, I'm not sure, to say, hey, we're doing this now, and it just doesn't really feel like true to that person, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, start with definitely do something that you really deeply care about, so that you can easily talk about it or easily tell people more how to implement it for themselves, that type of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So what is the best thing to each of you about being an entrepreneur?
Do you want to go first, or do you want me to
tell
you? For me, I think it's about, for us specifically in the floral business, it's about being able to create and work along someone to create something really beautiful. And so being an entrepreneur is exciting because you're not necessarily having to follow a set of rules that you don't necessarily agree with, or you're not having to conform into a specific vision that maybe is not aligned with the vision that you have. And so being an entrepreneur is kind of this freedom to say, okay, there are things that I want to do differently, or there are things that I want to make sure are important in the business that I have, and I get to be the one that makes that decision and choose and helps with change, or is really intentional about sustainability or whatever it may be. And so for me, I think that's the neat part, is that you get to, I mean, yes, you get to be your own boss, but you also get to be the one who is creating and moving towards a vision that you have. So I think that's really awesome.
Which I may also have a different answer after next week.
Yeah.
But I would agree with what you just said, but also I really like that you don't have to show up the same way every day, if that makes sense. Where coming from a more corporate environment where it's, you know, it's not exactly the same every day, but it's similar enough that it probably, it seems that way most of the time. So, you know, some days it's meeting with couples and getting to share and brainstorm about their vision for their wedding day or some really special event. Other days it's just putting on some really good music or a podcast in the studio and getting to just have time to design and create, or, you know, and there's also the maintaining a business portion of it. So doing the spreadsheets and the financials, which I also have a little
practice in.
A little spot for it, where I still enjoy kind of just digging into the numbers or creating an Excel spreadsheet or having that more like structured side of it. So I mean, especially a small business, or a lot of people are solo entrepreneurs.
Yes.
Getting to do all of those aspects, I think, really keeps it fun. It keeps it interesting, and
get to learn new things too.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yes. You're always challenging yourself.
How to build a website.
Yeah. So where can everyone find you guys?
Yes, so we are on Instagram of the Fields Floral. Ofthefieldsfloraldesign.com is our website. If anyone wants to email us directly, ofthefieldsfloral@gmail.com. So you can find us any of those places.
Awesome.
Just reach out if anyone has any questions or thoughts or anything like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I want to thank you all for watching and listening to this podcast. And until next time, bye guys. Thank you so much for watching and listening to today's podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you leave a review because that really, really helps us grow the show. If you want to continue to support this podcast, head over to our Patreon from the link in the description or the link in the show notes, where you can sign up for one of 3 tiers where you get exclusive merch, a direct line to me to tell me who I should have on the show, as well as getting to hear and see the podcast days before it releases to the public. I'm so excited for all the other exciting things that I'm going to be sharing with my patrons, and I can't wait to see you there. This podcast is also sponsored by HoneyBook. HoneyBook is an amazing client management service that I've been using for years, and they are absolutely incredible. They are so incredible that they're giving you guys an exclusive deal for 50% off your first year with them. That is a $200 savings, which is so crazy and so amazing. So you guys should head over to the link in the description or the link in the show notes to grab that amazing deal. This podcast is edited and produced by Earbrads. You can find them at Earbrads on Instagram or at earbrads.com. You can find me at Vanessa Jordan Photo on Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest, and you can also find me on my YouTube channel, Vanessa Jordan Photography, if you are listening to the podcast version and not watching the YouTube version of this podcast. And you can also find me at VanessaJordanPhotograph.com. And until next time, I cannot wait to create some amazing conversations with you.